Well, welcome back. And one thing I really appreciate about our time together is that it gives us opportunity to be honest. And there is no such thing as a perfect model devotional life. We are always going to be in process with it. So as we discuss that, let's be honest, sharing about what our lives are like at home. Today's session is called Spiritual Parenting. And legacy point one here is that you are God's representative. So be God's representative. Let's unpack that for a bit. Do you remember when moms, you first got pregnant and you got that amazed, I can't believe it, there is a person growing inside me? Now, as a husband, I was just kind of, watching this balloon grow. But when you first held your baby, did you not also have that, I can't believe it, what a miracle? And there is a sense at that time that even though this is a very unique person who has a component of me and my spouse, this is a miracle that's much greater than what I could do or what we could do. This is something that God did. And that reminds us of a perspective that we always should keep in mind. This miracle, this life, was not created by you, it was created by God. And this life is owned by God and not owned by you. But it's been placed in your hands, and you are the parent who is entrusted to take care of this child growing up. So, how is it that you would take this child and not just care for the child in terms of their physical growth and development, but spiritually? How do you spiritually parent a child? That begins with understanding, first of all, this child is not your own. This child is the Lord's. That means God trusts you to be His representative. Now, what will your home look like spiritually if you're representing Him in the raising of that child?
It will be a grace place. Create an atmosphere in your home where grace abounds. Now, what does that mean? Grace means unmerited favor. And so you want to create a place where we give each other forgiveness, whether it's deserved or not. God is the originator of grace, and Jesus is the ultimate expression of what unmerited favor is. Listen to Romans chapter 5, verse 8, which says, God demonstrates His own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Unmerited favor, while we were still sinners. And that's the kind of love, that's the kind of forgiveness that we need to share as a family with each other. And it starts with mom and dad, where there are two parents in the home. It starts with the single parent demonstrating it with other people that they know, but it absolutely is required between parent and child. Forgiveness is the essence of grace. Be kind and compassionate to one another, it says in Ephesians chapter 4, forgiving each other just as in Christ God forgave you. So grace is forgiveness. Grace is humility, admitting that we're not perfect, knowing that we make mistakes, and owning up to that. Grace is empowering your child, even when they've messed up, to help them to be all that God has created them to be. In short, grace is love.
I would go so far as to say that when someone says it's love that's the glue that keeps us together, well, it keeps us together when times are good. You know what keeps us together in times that are tough? Forgiveness. And that's grace given as a perfect expression of love.
Sometimes it's helpful to hear what the contrast to something is to help understand it. For example, what grace is not. Grace is not manipulation like this. If you do such and such, I'll forgive you. Or if you do this, I will love you. And I know there are parents out there who actually say those kinds of things to their kids. I'll love you if, I'll forgive you if. If they don't say it, they act that out. That is the contrast of grace, and that is death to relationships. And if any of you have any of that in your background, you got to pray through that and talk through that. Grace is not weakness. It's not letting your child run all over you. It is not anything goes, permissiveness. We'll talk a little more about that later on in the session. So grace is forgiving, humility, empowering, and love. It's not manipulation, a weakness, or permissiveness.
So think of it as an atmosphere in your home. It's a very broad topic, but if you think of it as an atmosphere, you'll find all different kinds of activities that are included in making your home a grace place.
So here's your assignment. Let's talk about it. Who was or is a grace person in your life? Someone in whom you see this kind of grace lived out, or saw that kind of grace lived out when you were younger. We'll see you back in a minute.